The Reminders app on your iPhone might not be the most amazing Reminders app available, but I'll tell you what it is. It's already installed on your phone right now and it's free to use, so I reckon for most people it's the most suitable Reminders app for them. But whilst it's dead easy to get the basics of this app right, I mean you just add reminders right, I reckon a lot of people aren't using it to its full potential. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 10 tips to help you get the most out of the Reminders app on your iPhone. I'm making this video in early 2022 by the way, so we're using iOS 15.4. Do make sure that you're running the latest iOS version so you can do everything that we talk about here. Oh, and do stick around to the end of the video. Not only do I think you might not know some of these tips, I'm leaving my favourite one until last. Okay, let's get into it. One of the biggest hacks that isn't really a hack for reminders is to skip the app and use Siri. Siri is hit and miss still across so much of the Apple experience, but one area where it does perform well is reminders, provided you know how to talk to it. For example, let's say that I want to set a reminder to remind me to pick up milk tomorrow when I leave work. The steps to do that in the app would be to create a reminder, then go into the reminder, then set a date for it, which would of course be tomorrow, then toggle on the location feature and choose work, assuming that you've got your work address set up in your phone. Yes, it's a first world problem, but that's quite a few steps, and it would be nice to be able to consolidate those steps down to just a verbal command. So what you could do instead is trigger Siri, then say something like, "Remind me to pick up milk tomorrow when I leave work." No matter how quick you are on your phone, it's always going to be significantly quicker to do it that way than it is to manually key everything in. Siri understands the context of remind me and tomorrow and when I leave work, and it constructs a reminder from those data points. Siri also understands context in terms of when you say this. So for example, let's say you're browsing Safari on your phone and you see a gift idea that would be great to buy for a friend, but you're busy at that exact moment in time. You'd rather look at it properly when you get home later. What do you normally do? Screenshot, I'd guess, maybe bookmark it and then forget all about it. Instead, say to Siri, "Remind me about this tonight at 7 PM, for example. So long as you say it whilst you're on the website that you're referring to, Siri will understand that this means this thing that I'm looking at right now on my phone, and will create a contextual reminder for you, complete with a link to get you back to that item. It doesn't work with everything. You'll have to play around and see where this does work and where it doesn't, but email, for example, is a brilliant one. If you see an email come in that you know you need to action soon, but just not right this second, you could say something like, "Remind me about this when I'm back in the office," or "Remind me about this in 20 minutes, for example. And so long as you're in the email that you want to be reminded about, not only will Siri create the reminder for you, it will link to the email. You get this little mail icon appear, and tapping that will take you to the email. Also, when using Siri, use context in terms of which list you'd like to add something to. The most common one I use is to add something to our shopping list. If I were to say, "Remind me to buy milk," for example, Siri would create a dedicated reminder for me to buy milk, but I don't need that. My girlfriend and I have a shared shopping list. What I actually want to do is add milk to our shared shopping list, and I do that by triggering Siri and saying, "Add milk to my shopping list." Because we have a list that's literally called shopping, and because I've specifically asked Siri to add something to it, it knows exactly where to put the reminder and won't just randomly dump it in my Reminders app. The key with Siri and reminders is context. You have to think about what you're saying before you say it. You could say, "Remind me to send Mum's birthday card next Wednesday," or "Remind me to change my toothbrush on the first Monday of each month." I find that generally the more context you can give Siri, the better it operates. Final Siri tip before we move on. The reminders part of Siri works extremely well, even on Watch, HomePod, and even CarPlay. So for example, whenever we cross the Dartford crossing here in the UK, we have to pay a fee, and whilst we keep meaning to set up an account for it, we keep forgetting. I know, I should set a reminder to do it, the irony is not lost on me. But what we do instead is whenever we cross the bridge, I use Siri on CarPlay and say, "Remind me to pay the Dartford crossing charge tonight at 7 PM. Works every time because I absolutely would always forget, and so far we've always paid. Hashtags are relatively new in reminders, and like hashtags everywhere else, they serve as a helpful little organization tool. There are other ways you can organize your reminders. We'll cover them in a moment, but for now, let's explore hashtags. So to add one, simply go into a reminder that you've created, then tap on tags. You'll be able to see any tags you've already created and can choose any of those, or you can create a new one by tapping Add New Tag and inputting it there. You can add multiples if you wish. Then when you're back on the main reminders screen, you'll now see a tag section at the bottom, and tapping on any of those tags will filter out the tags across all of reminders, showing you the reminders that include that tag. How you use this is of course up to you, but if you've got a trip planned and you're working through jobs related to that, you could have a tag related to your trip. If you're using reminders for work and you've got a number of projects on the go, you can have a project tag, and this would help collate everything together. It's an extremely useful tool that's much more flexible than simply placing everything into folders, although you could of course use those as well if you like. Speaking of folders, let's talk about them, because most people I speak with don't even realize that you can nest lists together into folders. If you're creating multiple reminders lists, and I think that you should be, it makes sense from a management perspective, your reminders screen is going to start to look a little messy. So what you can do is drag and drop lists on top of each other, and this allows you to create a nest or a folder with them. So like here for example, if I open my work folder up, you can see that I've got a list for YouTube, and then I've got a list for my freelance voiceover work that I do, and then I've got a miscellaneous list. Like I mentioned in the previous tip, you can use things like hashtags regardless of whether or not you're nesting lists, so you really can use these tools as much or as little as you like to find the perfect list organization method for you. If you're not using Siri, the second fastest way to create a reminder is to go into the app and press the new reminder button down at the bottom left. But you can see that by default, all reminders will go into the reminders list, which can start to get a bit cluttered, especially if you're not the most organized of people. We talked about hashtags in a previous tip, but something else you can do is create smart lists. A smart list is a list where you pre-populate requirements for future reminders, and so long as reminders match those requirements, it will automatically be put into that list. You'll see when you come to do this that you can get extremely specific about this if you wish. So for example, you might go for something as simple as a hashtag. You have a hashtag called office move, and you select that, and any reminders created with the hashtag office move in them will automatically go into that list. But you could also choose things like date and time, and you can do this in an actual manner, like inputting a specific date range, or a relative manner, so saying something like in the next week or month or year, for example. The same with time. You can specify that only reminders created in a specific location, or with a specific flag, or with a specific priority level get added to this list, and you can choose multiple options for your list. Once done, any existing and new reminders that tick all the boxes will go into your smart list. Sharing lists is, in my opinion, one of the most useful features in the whole of the iOS system, and it's something that I'm always amazed more people don't take advantage of. Essentially, when you share a list, you can then work on that list with other people, like you would a note or a document. But what that means from a reminders perspective is that if you've got a project that you're working on with multiple team members, or you've got an event that you're planning for as a family, you can add people to the list, and they can add and remove items from that list as they need to. The most basic example, and the one that my girlfriend and I use, is a shopping list. Whenever we're in the house, if we notice that we're running low on something, we add it to the list. And then when either one of us is at the shops, we just open the list in the app, which is going to be up to date, and we're good to go. So to do this, head into your list, tap the ellipsis menu up top, and then choose Share List. You can choose whether you'd like to allow people to be able to add other people or not, and then you can share the list via whatever method you'd like. Just one thing to point out, this works for regular lists, but it doesn't work for smart lists. The flag tool is another simple, underused, but very effective tool when it comes to reminders. Essentially, whenever you have a reminder that you know you need to be on top of urgently, you can flag it, just like you would with an email. Then, no matter where the reminder exists within the Reminders app, whether it's part of a smart list or anything like that, it will show in the flagged reminders box on the main screen, and it will remain there until you either complete it or remove the flag. I'd recommend using this for short-term things, jobs where you know you've got to get something done quickly, but like all of the tools here, you can use it as you wish. Recurring reminders can be really useful for those jobs that you do on a regular basis, but for whatever reason you struggle to remember, especially if it's a job you don't do that often. Maybe booking a dentist appointment, or running the dishwasher on a self-clean cycle, or getting your boiler serviced, or even taking the correct bins out on the correct day of the week. These are all jobs that happen on a recurring basis, and so it makes sense to have a recurring reminder to keep you on top of them. It's easy to do, just create a reminder, and when you do, where it says repeat, choose from the different options. Oh, and if you're using Siri to do this, just use the correct context. So you would say something like, remind me to take the bins out on Wednesday and repeat every fortnight, and Siri will understand and create the appropriate reminder. Reminders are really useful, but some tasks require multiple steps to be completed in order to complete the main job. And rather than creating lots of different reminders for a project like this, you'd be better off instead using subtasks. So in a reminder, use the I button to get information about the reminder, and then scroll down to subtasks. You can then add a bunch of sub-reminders. You'll see as well that a reminder that has sub-reminders shows in bold when you're looking at it on the main screen, and you can see that reminders tells you about the subtasks. Perhaps you're working on some DIY and you want to create a reminder, but also remind yourself of what it is that you need to fix at the same time. Or maybe you've got a leaflet and you want to make some inquiries off of the information from the leaflet, but you don't want to carry a piece of paper around in your bag. You can use your phone's camera to take a photo or a scan and then add that to the reminder. To do it, tap the I button on the reminder, and right at the bottom you can see Add Image. You can choose from the photo library, snap a picture there and then, or scan a document, and doing that even lets you choose whether you'd like it to be in black and white or colour. If you've approached this the other way around, you've taken a photo of something that you'd now like a reminder for, just share it from the photo using the last tip in our list. I've saved my favourite tip until the end, and this is it. You can share into reminders from other apps, which might not sound that useful or groundbreaking until you start to really make the most of this and realise just how powerful it can be. The process is the same all over from any app. You choose Share, and then you select Reminders, and you create a reminder from that app. But let me show you some of the ways that you can use this. In Notes, you can't share directly from the Share menu, but what you can do is highlight some text, then share to Reminders, and that will essentially create a reminder that links to that note. Thanks to the YouTube viewer on screen now who made me aware of that little gem. In Netflix, when you find a show you like, share it to Reminders, and it will create a reminder with a link to the exact show on Netflix, making it really easy to build out your watch list. The same in YouTube, the same in Disney+, the same in music. You can remind yourself about locations using maps, emails using mail, websites using Safari. There's loads of options for how you can use this, and whilst many of these apps do of course have their own bookmarking system, the beauty of reminders is that you can store everything in one place, and you can set actual reminders reminding you to read something at a certain time, or to visit a website when you get home from work. There's loads of possibilities for how you might use this. So there you go, 10 tips to help you start using reminders more effectively. What about you? Anything you're doing that I haven't mentioned? Drop me a comment and let's talk about it. And as ever, if you found this video useful, do please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to my channel for more content like this in the future. See you on the next video.